Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is Darren Doctorman.
And this is Ashley Miller.
And we are the Inglorious
Treksperts.
And this is Wagon Trek to the Stars, an all-new episode where we're going to talk about gateway episodes, what you should show people who haven't had a chance or don't know something. They know you like the Star Trek, but they don't know why, and you want to introduce them to the wide world of Star Trek. And so, and the agony of defeat. And you're going to show them some episodes. We're going to tell you what episodes you should show them.
And it could be a good way to get rid of a girlfriend if you have one.
That's right.
If you want to break up, hey, I'll show you some episodes of
Star Trek.
Of Star Trek. You see, couple of things before we get to that. I just want to point out for those of you who were listening to the show the last couple of weeks, you know about my ill-fated trip. Well, I should say ill-fated trip to Disneyland. It was a great trip, but we had a problem because the monorail wasn't running, and we were a little surprised by that. And there was no 24-hour room service. And when we went back to order lunch, they didn't have lunch, just breakfast and dinner. So anyway, we had a lovely time, but I was a little disappointed. So I have to tell you, I got a wonderful call this week from the manager of the Disneyland Hotel. We had a wonderful call. It was a perfect call.
Was it goofy?
And yeah, it was not good. Yeah, that's it. That's what it was. Hey, Mark.
Sorry about your stay.
And no, he was absolutely delightful. And I have to say, genuinely or very good at faking genuine empathy. Was wonderfully understanding about the whole thing. It's so nice. I felt. What did the kids say? I really felt heard. So it was good. I was so pleased. It left such a good taste in my mouth about the whole experience because Disneyland Hotel is not cheap. It's not cheap.
Now, have you written an email to them?
I had written an email to them.
Oh, okay.
I written an email.
I was making sure that they weren't listening to our podcast, and then they contacted.
No. And I said, what? I said, we had explained, we had a great time, but it was a little less magical because of this. And again, the reason we wanted the monorail was because I had just recovered from the flu, and Naomi had gotten bit by a dog when she was on her walk. So we weren't exactly at our best. Sort of like the crew and you're not exactly catching at our best.
Star Trek 4.
Yeah, Star Trek 4. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I just want to point out Disney once again did not disappoint me. They came through. It's a lovely conversation. Really put my mind.
Did they send you a Monte Cristo sandwich from Blue Bayou?
Nice. They did not, but it's time to get back to the Blue Bayou. It's been a while. In fact, last time we did go on the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I proceeded to tell Isaac the last time we went to Blue Bayou, he threw a fit because I think it was like 3 or 4. Really ruined my whole experience. It was for my birthday.
Well, never go there with kids.
So I said we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go back to the Blue Bayou and watch the starships arrive.
That's right.
And so he was very excited. So we're gonna do that one of these days.
I miss the Blue Bayou.
I know it's been a while, right? Plus I got all these friends.
Like 3 years for me.
I don't want to say names, but I got a lot of friends who are members of Club 33. And they keep threatening to take me.
Oh, really?
But every time,
Really?
What the hell just happened? Jesus, it's like I just went dark. Everything went dark.
Mark Altman's dark place.
I can't believe it.
Next,
you know why?
on
Because
the Inglorious
the computer went into sleep mode.
The computer wore tennis shoes is what happened.
I'm going into sleep mode myself, to be honest, from this conversation. But here, hold on, let me fix this.
Good night, Mark.
Good night. There we go.
Good night, Moon.
And
the window to heaven.
The moon is a window or stairway to heaven? I was
window to heaven.
Window to heaven. Stairway to heaven is Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. The Zeppelin
window to heaven
is
Andromeda. Right? Is Andromeda the ones who sang that song?
No.
Wasn't it Andromeda?
No,
that was the rock band in Buck Rogers in Space Rockers.
No, the moon is a window to heaven is the song from Star Trek 5.
Yeah, I know, but I'm asking who sang that. I thought it was a band called Andromeda. No, she didn't. It was somebody else who sang it. That's not her voice.
You lie.
No, we saw it. Her lips were moving.
We saw her singing it. She was naked.
She was dubbed. But so who was the people that sang that? Do you remember?
I used to know. I'm kind of glad I don't
Vienna
anymore.
Boys Choir.
No.
The Vienna Boys Choir. Yeah.
Oh.
No, I don't think that was
I
it.
feel like it's somebody who's actually related to Jerry Goldsmith, but I could be wrong.
No, it's not. It's not Joel Goldsmith.
No, it was not. It was somebody. Right now, people at home are banging on their tables.
Yeah.
Some kind of Treksperts they are.
You're idiots.
Did we ask? I think we asked Bill when we did the Star Trek V commentary, how come Nichelle didn't sing the song? And I think he ducked that one to his credit.
Yeah, because his answer was the truthful answer. Maybe was she can't sing.
No, that's not true. She's actually an excellent singer.
Really? Okay. I guess that's true because she did in fact sing to us that Charlie is our darling.
Well, that's true.
And beyond Atari's, but not only that, she was a dancer and a singer long before she was on Star Trek.
I looked it up. The group is Hiroshima.
Here, Hiroshima, not Andromeda.
Yeah,
Andromeda was the band that Jerry Orbach managed in Space Rockers.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Jesus.
but Hiroshima, which was
Hiroshima,
or Hiroshima.
Yeah, but then they lost their lead singer and they became Nagasaki. But
see, that's not
that's a terrible thing. Who talks like that? Who says shit like that? Such bad taste.
We are dirtbags.
We
The royal.
Oh God!
Oh, you know what a dirtbag is? Your camera mount there.
Well, you know the problem is it was fine, and then I had to screw with it before the broadcast, and then it started. Now it's screwing up a lot.
And the way it's sort of looking over your mic, it's just very unsettling.
No, I like this. It's very intimidating. I feel like the mighty Oz.
Wow.
The almighty Oz.
Looks like you're about to do something horrible to the Tin Man.
The late night with.
Oh, jeez. Treksperts tonight with your guests. Ariana Grande. Okay, so
Ariana Grande.
So we talked about Disneyland. Thank you, Disneyland. Thank you, Disney. Came through. You truly bringing the magic. Happiest place on earth.
And you know, if you're gonna do some pumping up of our enthusiasm about Disney, we are open to anything that you will want to send all of us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. we're ready to go to Disney anytime.
For a live broadcast from Disneyland.
Yeah, and Ashley was down with the flu, but I want to point out, I said this to Darren, you know, Rise of the Resistance, we know, is a great ride. And I've been sort of harsh on Smuggler's Run, but the last time we went, we were the pilots and not the engineers. And when you're the pilot on Smuggler's Run, it's freaking great.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's freaking great. I went to hyperspace. I took the Millennium Falcon to hyperspace.
Wow.
Now I got to ask you, was it cooler when we did that Star Trek bridge crew where we were in VR and we took the Enterprise to warp speed?
You know what? That was fun because we did it together and it was goofy and we enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, for all of you who think we don't like each other, we actually spent time together outside the show, and we had that great time. Admittedly, it was like 8 years ago.
Here we are. We spend all our time on a podcast, and what do we do when we have time off? We hang out together.
It's like Star Trek V.
That's right.
Yeah. Row your boat. And we that was the one where Jeff Bonds couldn't raise the shields.
That's right.
That's why we don't talk to Jeff Bond anymore.
But now, you know, there's medicine for that. And, you know, if your shields stay up for longer than 4 hours, you call Dr. McCoy.
Speaking of raising shields, whatever happened to, you never see Judson Scott around anymore. Somebody was saying recently how sad it was that on Star Trek.
I think he died.
No,
and that's why we're not still alive around anymore.
I think he's still alive.
Let's go to the phone.
Well, even if he did, he's the Phoenix, so he can rise again.
He rise from the ashes.
I loved that fucking show. Oh my God.
See, that's terrible. That's what's wrong. You shouldn't have loved that show. It was terrible.
But I loved it because I was 7.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not dead.
I told you. He's not dead, Jim.
He's only 72. He lives in his Zusa. Okay.
He lives in an Azusa.
He lives somewhere in Los Angeles, and if you can find him, maybe you can hire the Judson
maybe we
Scott
want him
team.
for Star Trek Las Vegas.
I think that would be great. God.
Yeah, we could talk to him about Phoenix.
Khan's son/not son.
Well, it's funny, but somebody wrote on one of our socials, they said how sad it is that the only people left from Wrath of Khan are Shatner and Walter. And I was thinking that's not true because you got Laura Banks, you got Judson, you got George Takei.
Scott.
Apparently, George got knocked out of that too.
Yours is the superior.
Anyway, so we got you know, and among the many emails we got, I think we got an interesting email this week from David Brown. David Brown is a longtime listener to the podcast. He claims, no, I'm sure he is.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
He asked,
and he was a producer of Jaws.
He said he has a deep dive question, which could be the basis for a really interesting episode. I got bad news from him. I don't think it is, but
So cool.
It's okay, David. We get that a lot.
he goes, a while back, I got a complete set of CBS Video Library VHS tapes for the original series. I just recently got a bunch of the original US Laserdiscs, and I don't yet have them all. When I got the VHS tapes, I saw a discussion on the Trek BBS thread. I saw this discussion on the original audio and presenting the episodes as close to the original night of airing as possible. I took notes from that conversation. He says, I love the Blu-rays. I'm glad they were offered with both the original and the remastered effects. I think Star Wars should have taken a cue from Trek here, but the Blu-rays sometimes strike me that they don't strike that tone of nostalgia because they are so clean and nice and they never look pretty. So he's saying we should do an episode, I'm going to summarize, where we talk about all the differences of the different releases. And to be honest, I think this is a job for Bill Hunt at the
Digital Bits.
Yes.
At Digital Bits. I think the minutia of the home video releases is a little outside our bailiwick.
I mean, it's more boring than a list show.
I kind of like when it looks better.
Yeah,
I
mean that's the whole point.
I like when it looks
Blu-rays
pretty, like
with
they
the
wanted it
original
to be.
effects.
We buy this stuff over and over again, not to get something that looks just as bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to like, hey, you know what would make this Blu-ray release even better if it looked like NTSC video, but like, you know, copied 600
If it
times.
looked like 250 line VHS.
I mean,
That
honestly,
said, in fairness to David, because I don't want to, you know, he's a fan. Obviously, this means a lot to him. In fairness, what he's talking about is the nostalgia factor and just how it felt to watch the show in the first place. And, you know, I can totally get how there's some cognitive dissonance watching the show in this completely different format and experience.
The great thing about the Blu-ray is that you can switch it to the original version on video and you can switch to the original mono track on audio. And it's the same but better.
Yeah,
and if you really want to re-experience it, pipe your Blu-ray machine into your 19-inch black and white TV.
Pipe it down here. Well, why don't we just get out of cassettes while we're at it? We'll just listen to the cassettes.
That's right.
I have to say that there's a reason we got rid of our DVDs and our Laserdiscs and our VHSs, and I love the Blu-ray.
Got rid of them?
Yeah, I got rid of them. They're long gone. They're gone. There's nothing we can do.
All. I still have
Did you
them
save
all.
all that? I got rid of them. Didn't need them. Don't need them. Especially that set where they had 2 on a DVD. That took up a lot of space. I don't have all that space for it. I don't have enough space for it all. So
space is the final frontier.
But we appreciate David Brown saying this, and it might be something that we delve into in the future.
Make fun of his idea.
I'm not making fun. I'm just saying it's not great. I'm not saying it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the suggestion. I'm just saying it's not. I think we have a very quick answer. I don't think it's something that we would devote a whole episode to. But we might do it in Vegas with Bill Hunt, who's going to be joining us at Star Trek Las Vegas this August on the Trekspert stage. We're excited to have him, one of many people that will be joining us. And to get the whole Megillah, you want to just continue to listen to the show. We hope we're going to see a lot of you in August at the Rio, where we will be doing our second year of programming and curating 4 days of amazing Trek content. So hopefully David Brown, who I did self-identifies as from the flyover Midwest, is somebody who will join us at the show.
Well, I hope so.
All are welcome.
Yeah, all are welcome in the light. This is true. But you know, I don't know. Are you guys watching much TV these days?
I'm watching more.
Yes.
What are you watching, Darren?
It's good for you, Pop. I've been watching The White Lotus, the latest.
What do you think of the season, Darren?
I don't know yet. I don't really,
either.
I don't really like any of the characters on it this season.
It's funny because I don't think it's a show where you necessarily have to like the characters like the show. But the first
I don't
seasons,
find any of them interesting. That's the
that's
the
different.
problem.
That's different. The first 2 seasons were terrific.
Yes.
The third season, I'm not
I'm not throwing in the towel yet.
Yeah. But I agree. You know, Jason Isaacs is very good.
Sure.
There's some great performances. You know, Walter Goggins, obviously. Walton Goggins. Yeah, he's not like Walter.
Like John Boy, only different.
But you know, and the resort, the Four Seasons where they shoot in Thailand, is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I had a laugh because somebody we all know, you don't know him as well as I do, is moving to Thailand. So when they referred to, no, it's not Rob Burnett. It's when we when they referred to the loser expatriate Americans who go to Thailand because they have no life in America. I had a laugh. But I got another friend who just moved to England because of politics, because to get out of the country, which was somebody
England
else.
Has no problems whatsoever.
So, well, compared to us. But yeah, White Lotus, I'm with you. I you know, right now, first season still my favorite. Second season, number 2, and
I think I like the second season a little better.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, that Theo James is I think he's terrific. I think he would have been a great Kirk, by the way.
Did you see him in The Gentleman TV show?
I loved him in The Gentleman. I loved everyone in The Gentleman, to be honest.
That's one of my favorite shows in the last 12 months.
So great. So great.
But I have to say that I'm near giving up on Severance.
Yeah, really. Interesting. Not now we have to say when we're recording this, the finale has not aired yet, so maybe that'll change things for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably still watch it, but you know what? I'm really pissed off because it's like they had a writer's room where no one talked. And every episode is something different, and they better connect this stuff together or I'm going to be really angry.
Well, we wouldn't like you when you're angry. The first season was a real slow burn too, but there's something so far. I'm not as far ahead as you are right now. That it hasn't quite come together for me. Plus, as someone like, you know, we're all in the business, it just offends me how much it costs to shoot a show that takes place in a bunch of offices.
Yeah,
it's like the fact that they're spending $18 million an episode.
That's insane.
I just find
all the walls are white. You got to watch out for the reflections. I don't know.
You know, but I guess they threw out a bunch of stuff and started again.
Well, that tells me that they're not very well organized.
Yeah, but it's beautifully shot, and it definitely has that conversation feel.
Okay, it's well lit, and there's some funny camera tricks that they do, and that's great. But the storytelling is crap.
It's beautifully shot, and the music, the score is very evocative of David Shire's score for the conversation. There's so much I like about it. I really want to love it, and it stuck the landing last year, despite episodes that maybe I was not sanguine on. We'll see what happens this season. We'll come back. We'll revisit this place again. Yeah.
Did you read on the net? They are talking about
on the interwebs.
George Lucas's unmade 60 episode Star Wars dark series.
Hey,
Underworld.
kids,
well, I'm glad
if
that you
would
bring that
like
up.
to talk to somebody who actually wrote those episodes, I happen to have Superman's address.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I do. It was John Steinberg, who I worked for on Black Sails.
Well, we know a lot of people who worked on that show.
But
we know a lot of people. But more importantly, I thought you were going to say this. All this stuff that's breaking is because of our producer and our good friend and my assistant, Peter Holmstrom. Is his podcast, The Young Indie Chronicles, that broke all this stuff. They had Rick McCallum on 2 weeks ago, and now everyone is going crazy over this because they broke all this news about Star Wars Underworld. It's absolutely fascinating, isn't it?
I think it's very fascinating. I think it was very disturbing that every episode would cost $40 million.
Well, yeah, that's a little on the high side, isn't it?
That's, I mean...
No, that's almost as much as She-Hulk.
I don't know if I can tell this story because I know somebody told me this. I don't know if it was in confidence, but I'll tell you anyway. They were looking for a lot less than that. They were looking for a very small license fee at the time. And this is before the Disney acquisition.
Right.
And George Lucas was going to deficit it. And they could not get anyone from the networks to the Sci-Fi Channel or anyone to pick it up, because after the prequels, nobody thought there was any interest in Star Wars, and they could not get they couldn't understand why no one was interested in giving them a commitment for it.
Well,
and
now we
so
know.
It didn't. I don't know. The Underworld sounds really interesting to me, and I'm really great work to Daniel Noah and Peter Holmstrom for breaking the story on their podcast on the Young Indie Chronicle. I remember when Peter first told me, he said, Mark, we really appreciate you guys giving me a chance to do Treksperts Briefing Room, and I think I'm going to do another podcast. I said, oh, really? What do you think of doing? He goes, oh, we're going to do a podcast devoted to the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. And then I finished laughing, and I'm like, no, really, what are you doing? He goes, no, podcast on Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I said, who's going to listen to that? But they've done a great job. They've got great guests, and it's really impressive. So if you haven't checked it out, you should check out the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles with hosts Peter Holmstrom and Daniel Noah. And it's really well done, and we're very proud of them.
Absolutely.
So in other news, totally different genre, I'll tell you what I saw, and I'm not sure why I started watching it. I just kind of did. And who knows, maybe this is just me being insane.
Suits LA?
Yes, exactly. No, Netflix comedy, Nobody Wants This.
Oh, well, Nobody Wants This is fucking great.
Yeah, it's absolutely great.
Why do you sound so surprised?
I don't know.
Great.
Because it was one of those shows I had no idea what I was getting into when I sat down and I started watching it. I'm like,
you're late to the party. That was a huge, everyone was watching it.
Yeah, it's just terrific. The dialogue,
so funny,
acting, so good.
The chemistry is so great between Adam Brody and Kristen Bell. It's fantastic.
Yep. He is just, he is not the guy from the OC you kind of wanted to punch in the face. Like,
no,
he's actually matured into like a dude,
into a hot rabbi.
Into a hot rabbi. Exactly. No, it's just really terrific. Just so well written. It's so well done. Love that show.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Streaming Week.
And I at the risk of coming across as older than my 29 years, it's great, the Ted Danson show on Netflix.
Yes.
Where he infiltrates a nursing home. Man on the Inside. So much fun. And I had no interest in that, but everyone in my family was telling me I had to watch it. My wife, my kids, they all watched it, loved it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll watch one episode. That's my thing. I'll watch one episode. But I loved it, and it's great. It's so much fun.
Yep.
So
it's a shame that they didn't call the show "You Should Be Dancing."
You Should Be Dancing.
Oh my
That's
God.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I like that. Anything else we're missing?
I don't know, man.
This is a show about Star Trek, isn't it?
Well,
it is.
I'm ashamed to admit that this past Saturday I spent all day watching episode after episode of Below Deck.
Below Deck?
Below Deck Australia.
Throw me down.
It's the show about people who charter yachts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of a companion piece to the White Lotus, then.
It kind of is. It's like the real life White Lotus, and it's hilarious, and I can't stop watching it. It's like a traffic accident.
Oh, okay. Well, one of these days, if we go and do a convention anywhere near the water, maybe we'll charter a yacht and go on a little yacht tour.
I remember those stories about Ince. I'm not going to do that.
You remember those stories about Ince, about Thomas Ince, who was killed on a yacht? Oh my God, that's a deep cut, man. That's a deep cut.
Well, I'm a doctor, man.
Yeah. We used to, back in the day, when we used to do NAPD and do a lot of these, and MIP and all these markets, we used to do a bunch of yacht parties. They were always fun. There was one time our yacht party was so popular. There were so many people on the yacht. There were too many people on the yacht that I had to leave my own party so there was enough room on the yacht for the buyers and stuff. So I ended up standing on the pier watching my own party go off to sea.
But did you listen to Yacht Rock?
I did. We did listen to Yacht Rock, but we should have. At the time, I don't think it was called Yacht Rock.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's a recent thing.
Very
it's a
recent
thing. Yeah, but I don't like the water. I mean, as we know, because I had no interest in
you're
going
like
on
Chief
the
Brody.
Trek cruise. Yeah, I'm like Chief Brody, exactly. From New York, I'll move to Amity, Massachusetts, and have to kill a giant great white shark. Because this time it wants revenge, revenge,
Revenge.
revenge.
This time the shark's pissed off.
Yeah. Anything else you guys are watching before we talk about the Star Trek Gateway episodes?
Just Animal Control, which always makes me giggle. I don't know.
Well, I love Joel McHale. I love Community. I think he's great. And I think the world to him. And so it's fun. It's not, like if I miss it, you know what? It's nice. I'm glad this is an episode. This show doesn't matter if you miss an episode. You can just watch it, right? If you came in on the second season, you're not missing anything, right? It's not like in this days where, like Severance, you have to watch everything in order, which actually is a great transition to our subject, which is, with Star Trek, how do you start watching Star Trek? Clearly, you don't need to watch it from the beginning. In fact, you probably shouldn't if you're going to watch Star Trek for the first time. You don't necessarily
we'll talk about that.
Well, okay, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that when we come back. So stay tuned. We'll be back after these brief commercial messages, and then we'll begin our wagon trek to the stars. And we're back. We're back. We didn't spare the horses. That's a terrible expression.
Spoil the child. Wait,
because when they say don't spare the horses, they mean you got to whip them to make them go faster. That's that's a nasty sentiment. It's a nasty.
Well, unless you really need to get someplace now.
I don't like that. I don't want to. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use that. Don't spare the horses.
Don't bring any horses then.
And don't spare the rod. Spoil the child.
And spoil the horses.
Spoil the horses.
No.
Don't raise the bridge. Lower the river.
Are we just going to do expressions for this episode?
Take the air out of the tires.
Bumpuses.
That's bumpuses.
Hi.
Okay. So today we're talking about if there's somebody in your life who has never seen Star Trek, you want to get them, you want to expose them to Star Trek, and you presumably want them to like Star Trek. How do you go about that? That's something this was a suggestion from one of our listeners. And I don't have that right here handy, so my apologies but you know who you are, who suggested it. Thank you for suggesting this episode. We think there's some juice in it, unlike the other one. And I'm kidding, David. I'm kidding. Man. I'm just a joke. Extremely Little Ensign. So,
Extremely Little Ensign.
Where do you? That's a very small ensign. It's the opposite of the infinite vault. Okay, so Darren, if you were going to introduce somebody to Star Trek, how would you go about it?
You know what? I've been thinking a lot about this over the past few weeks, where we were going to do this episode and then didn't for various reasons. But I think I would start right with the first regular series episode made with the Corbomite maneuver.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us.
Captain's log, stardate 1512.2. The Enterprise and crew are held captive by a strange alien vessel.
Evasive maneuvers, Mr. Sulu.
Object changing direction too, sir. Keeps coming at us.
It's blocking the way.
Regretfully, your ship must be destroyed. We grant you 1 minute.
What are you all out of your minds? End of what? It's the end of everything. What are you, robots? Wound up toy soldiers? Don't you know when you're dying?
No time for you, your theories, your quaint philosophies. I intend to challenge your actions in my medical records. I'll state that I warned you about Bailey's condition. Now, that's no bluff.
Anytime you can bluff me, Doctor.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Because it has all the elements that make Star Trek interesting and fun. The characters are pretty much all there, and it just dives you into this fantastic science fiction story, and it shows you scope. The Fesarius is huge, and you see it next to to the Enterprise that we live on, and it's really the character moments are great, and it really represents all that Star Trek promised to be.
Ashley, would you agree with that? Darren saying Corbomite maneuver might be the way to attempt to launch.
It depends a little bit on who the audience is that I am attempting to introduce Star Trek to. Not Star Trek 2, but Star Trek 2. The preposition, not the number. I think Corbomite Maneuver is a great episode. I think in many ways it's almost the episode looking back as a kid that I remember as kind of the text of Star Trek. It's, oh yeah, that's the episode you think about. It's you got the alien with the scary face, and you've got like the big ship. And then you've got like Clint Howard, like with the ADR. And that was the most unsettling shit. And I mean, that to me was scarier than the big alien face, was just the voice coming out of that little kid. That weirded me out. There's a lot of great things in it. I don't know. If it were somebody who's our age, who somehow like managed to go through life without ever seeing Star Trek, that's not a bad way to start. If it were one of my kids, I don't think it's how I would start.
I did show it to my kid.
Okay.
And I started with it. And he was intrigued and scared at the same time, which is exactly what you need.
On my wedding night. It's great.
Well,
did you have a puppet on your wedding night too?
I did have a puppet on my wedding. It's like, and there was like a big scary face, and then
you now have 2 minutes left.
I hope you relish it as much as I.
Oh my God.
So, Darren, I tend to agree with you on this Corbomite maneuver. To me, that's all of Star Trek in one package. It has the message, don't judge a book by its cover. It has Captain Kirk being extremely in charge and smart and capable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It has sort of the audience surrogate in Anthony Call's character.
Right.
Who's a little scared and, makes some mistakes. And it has great ship-to-ship action. It has a great alien ship, a great alien character, great guest star, and Clint Howard. So to me, in a way, it is the definitive Star Trek episode. But Ashley makes a good point in saying that perhaps that's not the gateway for everyone, despite being... I mean, I know when I got introduced Isaac to Star Trek originally, before he insisted on watching it in broadcast order and watching every episode, I showed him Shore Leave, and I showed him Arena, and I showed him Savage Curtain, none of which are on my list other than Arena. So, Savage Curtain I showed him because he was interested in the presidents, and I thought, and it achieved what it did. And Shore Leave because we'd gone to Vasquez Rocks for Father's Day, and I wanted to show off Vasquez Rocks, and I thought him and my daughter would enjoy the whole Alice in Wonderland thing, and they did, and they loved it. But I think we're looking for this that sort of capture all of Star Trek, the Star Trek mystique that aren't outliers. That's why I think City on the Edge of Forever may be a brilliant episode.
But it doesn't tell you about Star Trek.
But it doesn't tell you about Star Trek. I would never start with that.
Yeah,
I don't think if you don't understand.
The same thing with showing Inner Light for Next Generation. It's a wonderful episode, but it doesn't tell you about Star Trek.
Right. Hey, Ashley, I want to ask you something, because what I've encountered, a lot of people a little younger than Darren and I, maybe a little younger than you as well, their gateway, their introduction to Star Trek was Star Trek 2. And then it was the movies. And then they went back and started watching the original series. What did you first see? What was your gateway?
I was they drafted me. My brother actually, who's 6 years older than I am, sat me down and made me watch with him and put a red shirt on me and all that other crap. So it was
eye locks on you.
Yeah, 100%. And I had an agonizer. It was so weird, and it actually worked because he was a crazy genius. But I can't remember for as long as I have memories, like long-term memories that are formed.
You're talking about memories.
I'm talking about memories. For as long as your sun has burned hot in the sky, I have awaited a Star Trek episode. I remember Star Trek for as long as I remember anything. And so I would actually have to default back to what was the episode that sort of felt most like Star Trek to me. We were just talking about it, is probably the Corbomite maneuver, even though it wasn't my favorite episode. If I thought about it, images from that episode are the things that would be summoned up.
Well, plus you saw Balok's face at the end of every other episode.
Yes, you did.
Not chess.
But I do resonate with the whole, you watch the movies. I mean, look, when I was a kid, like I was excited for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I went to the movies for the sake of the movies, for the sake of the show.
Yeah.
When I got Caden to start watching it, and I have not been a great Star Trek dad, but
so you make up for it in other ways.
That's right. You're
a great Godzilla dad.
I'm a great Godzilla dad. I'm an amazing.
You're a great Santa Claus dad.
I'm a pretty good Star Wars dad too. I don't know how I screwed up Star Trek, but I took him to see Star Trek 4 on the big screen because they did the Fathom events, showed that, and I said, all right, so if you're going to see Star Trek for the first time, I want you to see it big and in your face,
big and whaley.
And I'll tell you what I think really worked about it was understand that he was 11 years old. B, and this is actually my the exception I take with saying that Sitting on the Edge of Forever isn't a good introduction to Star Trek, because for me, what brings me into a show or into a story are the characters,
right? And
the thing I think that really spoke to Caden and with Star Trek 4 was he just really enjoyed the characters. Now, is Spock as we know him? Not really, no. But there is an energy it's undeniable in that movie, that you just love those characters. So the next thing that I showed him was the director's edition of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
In a theater,
which he loved. And he saw Star Trek 2 in the theater, and he loved it. So clearly something worked. And I think that's the reason why I would say, look, I would not dismiss the possibility of showing somebody Sitting on the Edge of Forever to hook them on Star Trek, because I think they would see, oh, wow, that's really great storytelling.
It's a good story, right?
Really great characters. And I am interested in watching them. One thing, we say in the TV writing business is, as you well know, Mark, is that people watch television and movies for entirely different reasons. You go to a movie, when you sit down, the question you're asking yourself is, what's going to happen next? When you sit down and you watch a television show, you ask yourself, what's going to happen to that person that I'm inviting into my house this week? And I think Sitting on the Edge of Forever is it's a terrific character episode, and it's just smart.
But I don't think you can appreciate it on a level unless you've come to know these characters already in other episodes. Plus, there's not really a set being on the Enterprise. There's no sense of this being a space show and about you're
not boldly going anywhere.
Boldly going where no man has gone before. It's so off concept. Which is not to say it's not the best episode of Star Trek ever produced. It is, right. But it to me is an introductory, is a gateway to Star Trek. I mean, it literally is a gateway because it's the Guardian. But
maybe your gateway.
But for me, I think that because especially the idea is, I think, not to just show them one episode they'll love, but say this is what Star Trek is, and if you like this, there's many more episodes like this. Right. And that's why Corbomite Maneuver for me, sort of, there are many more episodes like it. Maybe an episode that would be more appropriate in your mind would be The Naked Time.
Captain's log, stardate 1704.2, planet Psi 2000. The science party we were to have picked up has been found dead.
Could be some form of space madness we've never heard of.
Question. Could what happened down there to those people create any unusual danger to this vessel and crew?
No escape for you.
We have 14 minutes left.
Even if we were under full-scale attack, I couldn't move any faster, not maintain a safety factor.
You can't afford a safety factor.
Hey, Joey, put the knife down. Joey, you're just getting my sweat about it.
Spent a whole lifetime learning to hide my feelings.
One, because it has naked in the title, and two, because
it has
it
time
really get a sense of who these characters are because of this disease.
Yep, that's true.
That's a salient point. But I think that Naked Time works better when you know how these characters work without being drunk first.
Right, which is why Naked Now doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah, at all. Well, except for that one scene. Yeah, because it's now.
Although now is 30 years
It's
ago.
so now.
Hard against Silkovsky. That's what she said.
Oh my God. Okay. So what about this? Because here's another one that is kind of a definitive Star Trek episode. So is this an episode you would show someone who has never seen Star Trek? Devil in the Dark.
Captain's log, stardate 3196.1. A distress call has brought the Enterprise to Janus 6.
When that creature appears, men die.
Describe it.
I can't. I only got a glimpse of it. Ed shot it. A good, clean shot. Didn't even slow it down.
Captain, we are being watched.
Almost as if he'd been thrown into a vat of acid.
Strong enough to eat machinery?
Strong enough to eat anything. That murdering monster's in there.
You're going to stay here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ashley.
No, go ahead, Ashley.
I'm iffy on it. I love Devil in the Dark, but I feel like it's tough sledding unless you've already bought into Star Trek, because and it's not that it's off concept or that there's anything wrong with how it's written or how it's made, but it's dark.
Not at the end, it isn't.
No, it's not. I mean, it's
dark in the title.
You
it's
emerge
dark in
from
the title, but there is something about that episode that I'm just thinking about how I reacted to these things when I was a kid.
Right.
And there's something about Devil in the Dark that lacks fun. And I know that's a silly thing to say about Star Trek, but one of the things that's great about Corbomite Maneuver is and why I think that was a great pick is that it is fun.
Yeah.
But there's something about Devil in the Dark that is wonderful, but I think you have to be in the place where you're going to go there with the show.
It's interesting because Devil in the Dark was the first episode of Star Trek that I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
Really? I thought the animated show.
Well, no, I'm talking about the first episode of live action Star Trek.
Okay. It was
so it was very memorable for me. Also, because that night we were having Elio's frozen pizza that was slightly burnt in the oven, and I looked down, and there in front of me is the Horta as pizza.
No, eat I.
And it's the strangest thing, but it looked exactly like the Horta, and it made an impression in my mind. So,
Mom, can I have eggs instead?
Yeah, no,
maybe not.
Maybe not. Exactly. But yeah, I think it also has the frightening element that I think is extremely necessary to latch on to someone in their interest, to get them moved in some way, deep emotional, that will connect them to it. And I think fear is a good way of connecting.
But I want to ask you, as a concept artist and as an art director, here's my question. If you're showing it to somebody who you don't know that well, right, and who may not respond to what some people dismiss now as the styrofoam rocks, and is the Horta going to be a turnoff where they're not going to get it? Like they may not, they're used to more expensive television, more elaborate, contemporary creatures.
I don't think so. As long as you start the episode from the beginning and you see this mysterious thing killing poor Schmitter,
fried to a crisp,
burnt to a crisp, like
yeah.
Elio's pizza.
Yeah, like Elita's Pizza. But I think that it sets it up. Its storytelling is good enough that once you see the Horta, you don't mind that it looks like a guy under a carpet. But because it has set this thing up as being real already. And I think that the interest in the audience for seeing it for the first time really doesn't, it isn't hindered by the way they produce the creature.
Well, I would certainly hope not, because it's so inventive. It's so great.
Yeah,
so great.
But the question you ask about production value, I think, is a fair one. I think if we're trying to get somebody to go, oh, okay, I can sit down, I can watch this, and there are no obstacles to my enjoyment that I need to get past because it's something that I need to kind of grok and kind of get through. Maybe I would lean more towards something that isn't vulnerable to those production issues. Something that looks really great, something that is just exciting. It's dependent on the actors and the characters interacting and what they're doing. It has great music. It's shot beautifully. Like, I think I might start with the Doomsday Machine.
What happened to your crew?
Oh, we were dead. Mr. Sulu, you will lay in an evasive course back to the Constellation.
Aye, aye, sir. Belay that last order, helmsman. We're going to attack.
You will carry out my last order, Mr. Sulu.
I am assuming command of the Enterprise.
But I would advise against it.
Scotty, get us out of here. Prepare to beam me aboard on my signal. Gentlemen, I suggest you beam me aboard.
Because there's absolutely, I mean, that episode, like, that just looks great. It looks great. And, the best and cheapest special effect is always William Shatner. And, he is, on fuego in that episode. And
going toe to toe with William Wyndham, yeah.
But also
exactly,
keep in mind that you would be winding up showing them the remastered version. Unless you're very careful. No, you don't have to. And I think that you ought to make a point to show them the original version.
Yes, absolutely. It's the remastered version it just takes away from the power of that episode.
It does,
sadly. So, that's interesting. Doomsday Machine would certainly be on my list. You don't get much better Star Trek than that. And I think it's interesting because obviously some of the best episodes are also the best intro to Star Trek 101. Maybe that's the name of this episode, Star Trek 101. Yeah. What do you think about Balance of Terror?
Captain's log, stardate 1710.0. The Starship Enterprise is under heavy attack by an enemy vessel.
Obviously, their weaponry is superior to ours, and they have a practical invisibility screen.
Helm, hard over. Phasers, fire, point blank.
I'm pointing out that we could have Romulan spies aboard this ship.
The Earth Commander will follow. He must. And when he attacks, we will destroy him.
Permit me the glory of the kill, Commander.
Thomason. We have him. Move toward him.
We can get just one phaser going.
Phasers, Mr. Spock.
Impossible, Captain.
We have some of the old-style nuclear warheads aboard.
Yes, Commander, but only for self-destruction.
Place one in with the debris.
I know you love it, but I'm saying, is that a gateway episode?
I think it absolutely is.
Yep. Yeah. For the same reason the Doomsday Machine is. And even beyond that, it's one of the things I think that's great about it is it's thematically, it shows you simply because of the Romulan commander, because of Mark Leonard, because of everything that's happening on the everything that's happening on the other side of the view screen. I think that really, I think that adds something to it that you don't necessarily get in all the episodes, except that you kind of do, right? It's a core ethos of Star Trek that in the best of all possible worlds, like the people that we're up against have a point of view that we can understand. It might not always be great in terms of a point of view that we can get behind.
Yeah, but it's
a point of view that we can understand.
Yeah, it has character and it has action. I'd be really interested to talk to. Well, maybe not, but I'd love to hear from a young fan who's a big Strange New Worlds fan, who may have gone back and watched Balance of Terror after having seen the episode of Strange New Worlds where they did their strange riff on Balance of Terror, to see what their response was to Balance of Terror. Maybe I don't want to, but I'm just curious. I'd be curious. I don't think anyone like that exists in our Treksperts universe, but if there is, you should reach out to us. We'd be very interested to hear.
The only way I can see to conduct that experiment is maybe taking advantage of the fact that I'm a terrible Star Trek dad, and show Caden that Strange New Worlds episode, and then show him Balance of Terror.
What are you, fucking Mangala? What are you?
I know, right?
Torture?
Is it?
What am I doing? I got to put the toothpicks in his eyes. But
Jesus.
I think it's interesting, though, that as we think about these things, some of our favorite and most popular episodes are not necessarily good ones to introduce the show.
No, that's true.
For example, Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah.
Amok Time.
Yes, right. That's a great example, because Amok Time is completely dependent on knowledge of the show and understanding Spock and having spent a season with him already.
Exactly.
And understanding what Vulcans are all about. But I'm not sure I agree with Tribbles. If you may recall, in our first season, way back when, 7 years ago, we had John Kim on the show, John Harlan Kim, who was somebody who had never seen an episode of Star Trek. And we had him watch Tribbles and then show up on the show and tell us about, what he thought. And he actually, he really enjoyed it. But he didn't start watching Star Trek.
But is he still watching Star Trek? That's the question.
No, he's not. So that's a good point. Yeah, no. As far as I know, he's not. I don't think he is.
I think people who get indoctrinated with that episode like Star Trek for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, they like the fun, the comedy. Yeah. And there are only three of those.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, if we're trying to build future fans who will stick to it, you got to think this through. Baby.
That's true. There's an effort in building future fans. That's a good point. So maybe Aaron DeMercy, is another episode. It's a great Kirk Spock episode.
It's not
a compelling guest star.
It's too slow for an intro. It's like it's good. Look, I love it, but I think it's too slow for an intro.
Yeah. It takes too long to get to the point.
Then you know what I think does work in the same way Corbett Maneuver works? Arena.
Captain's log, stardate 3045.6. The Enterprise has responded to a call from Cestus 3. On landing, we have discovered that the outpost has been destroyed.
How can you explain a massacre like that?
You must make certain that the alien vessel never reaches its home base.
I intend to. Firing paces, Captain.
If I could help him, I would. I cannot.
We destroyed invaders, as I shall destroy you.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing about, it has this great message, which is at the heart of Star Trek. It has a great monster, but who turns out not to be a monster. Great dialogue, great action, and it's a great Kirk story.
Yeah.
And the monster will sell you his book for $50.
Now that's a monster.
Wow. That's hysterical. And
Bobby Clark is building a rudimentary lathe.
It's oh my God! It's like a broadcast news. Bobby.
Can you fly, Bobby?
Well, here's an episode that I don't love, but might be a good introduction. And it's not that I don't like it. It's still like a solid 3 or maybe even 3.5 star episode for me. The Squire of Gothos.
Captain's log, stardate 2126.1. We are weaponless and powerless, unwilling guests of the creature who calls himself Trelane.
I must say, they make a perfectly exquisite display pair.
I object to you. I object to intellect without discipline.
Mr. Spock, you do have one saving grace after all. You're ill-mannered.
You will hang by the neck until you are dead.
I want you to leave my crewmen alone. I want you to leave my crew women alone, too. Are you ready?
As the one challenged, I claim the first shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
It's fun.
If you've got the courage.
But again, it's too odd.
Yeah.
It's too
I can see
odd
that.
for introducing someone to this show.
Okay. Yeah. By that.
You know who mourns for Adonais? Like when I was a kid, I love that episode mainly because of Leslie Parrish, but
sure.
You know what? It's whatever gets you in the door, man.
And the flying buttresses of her dress.
Yes, exactly. The costumes.
Whatever gets you in the door. That's interesting. So here's a question. What gets you in the door? Is it because, obviously TOS was the gateway for us and so many of our listeners, but TNG was too.
Yeah.
So is there a TNG episode that is the episode to lure them in, to bait them? You're baiting them.
I have to say that I think Encounter at Farpoint is essential. As dull and silly as we think it is, it sets up everything. And if you can enjoy it from that, then you enjoy the rest of it completely.
If you can enjoy Encounter at Farpoint, you'll enjoy anything.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the rest of the show will be so much better for you.
Because I think that, potentially you could watch Where No One Has Gone Before, which introduces you in a way to all the characters. It has the Traveler. It has, this mystery. And I don't love that episode by any means. I don't particularly like that episode. Yeah. But, I
can see that. But
yeah.
See, I think I don't know. And there's a lot of reasons why this would not be true. Although first I'll say about Encounter at Farpoint. I think one of the key qualities for anything that I'm going to show somebody to get them to go, wow, that's really a good show and I trust your judgment, is that the show should be fucking good. And Encounter at Farpoint just isn't. I would rather have them get in the door and say, wow, that was really well done. I really dig those characters. I really dig the vibe of this show. And
I think you're looking at it with too much perspective.
Well, I mean, my objective is to make people watch it, not.
No, I know,
wow,
I know. So is mine.
Right.
But
I don't know.
I think there are enough elements in it that are interesting and fun and new that a new viewer will find it fascinating. The whole idea of the holodeck and Q and all these sort of these new characters are interesting. And whether or not they live up to later episodes is a different question. And we know how that works. But I think as a standalone, to start out, it is not bad.
I'm not sure when we live in a world in which people are constantly looking at their phones and distracted that Farpoint will hold their interest long enough to trap them. You know, I'm not sure that episode gets it done. Where something like Measure of a Man.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
It's unjustified. It's unfair. He has rights.
A Starfleet experiment threatens to dismantle Data for android research.
And what's at stake? My very life.
No, Captain Picard is Data's last hope for survival.
What is he? A machine.
And now a man will shut it off.
Objection.
On Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Which is really compelling and anyone can relate to, I think. And immediately you understand Data's like this android character. And, you know, I
just
think
works as drama.
It works as drama and it works at a brisk, 45 minutes.
Yeah, but also you don't have the backstory of watching Data for a few episodes and getting to.
But I don't think you need it. I think that's the genius of the episode. Yeah, you understand what that is simply sitting down and going, okay, like it presents its case compellingly enough that it isn't dependent on having seen the rest of it. I mean, it's like one of the great virtues of TNG and Star Trek was that they were so episodic. And I think they put a premium on you have to be able to understand the show that you're sitting down and you're watching to really enjoy it. I mean, the episode that I would be back and forth on for This Is Your Intro is something like Yesterday's Enterprise. Which I happen to know, however, that there are people, when I was in college, like I have friends who had never watched Star Trek before, who watched that episode, and then they started watching Star Trek because it was fucking
But
cool.
were they Star Trek fans who didn't watch Next Gen, or they'd never watched Star Trek?
They'd never watched Star Trek. These were jocks and dudes who just did not play the sci-fi game. And they're like, wow.
Maybe really they lie to you because they like you.
Well, then they lied to me every week.
It's funny. I mean, I can't argue with your anecdote, but I just don't.
I agree. It's like if on paper, it's does it have the same power without understanding Tasha Yar, without having some sense of who these characters are outside of the alternate
even understanding the Star Trek universe, that the Klingons who used to be our enemies are now our friends, and
they're enemies again,
Romulans, and they're
and I'd like to know. I'd like to know more about their future viewings of Next Generation, if they found it as enjoyable as Yesterday's Enterprise, because I don't think they would have.
When you start with one of the best episodes, it's hard for the other episodes to follow up to it.
Which is why I say encounter at Farpoint.
Because you can it only gets better from here, kids.
Yeah.
Isaac had something he wanted me to mention, and I laughed at first, and then he explained to me, and I was like, the neutral zone.
On the next episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Commander, look at this.
The crew discovers frozen survivors from the 20th century.
What's going to happen to us?
In the middle of a perilous mission to confront arch enemies.
You think that we attacked your outposts?
Could this feared encounter spark an explosive battle?
I recommend we go immediately to battle stations.
Find out on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
And the reason he suggested that, not because he liked the episode particularly, but because it involves three people from the 20th century and he said, so they're like our surrogates for understanding what Star Trek is. We learn there's no money in the future. We learn what this thing is like, and we encounter the Romulans, and
they're the audience's badly written surrogates.
Yeah. But I thought that it was interesting. It's the same way, like, in a show like Farscape or Buck Rogers, where the character is like a 20th century character who finds himself in the future, and there are our eyes through the show. Neutral Zone is not a particularly good episode, but it was an interesting thing. I just don't know if anybody would stick with it after watching that, because not a lot happens in that episode.
I nearly didn't stick with it after watching it the first time.
I really liked that episode, but it's not like one of my top 10 of all time, but I enjoyed it, especially in the context of it's the Next Generation's first season, which was had some really had some good episodes. But
that's why Ashley's picking Shades of Grey. Yeah, it's like, instead of Farpoint, I'm going to go with Shades of Grey.
Shades of Grey, because you get representation from many episodes.
Yes, that's right. If I can turn Shades of Grey into it. a drinking game, then absolutely Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
The Royale as a drinking game. Then
Well, the Royale's a drinking game, right? But not as a gateway drug to Star Trek. No. It's a gateway drug to other drugs.
Yeah, other things, but yeah.
Wow.
Let me ask you something. As much as we love Deep Space Nine, I don't think that show is a gateway. Like, I don't think you can.
It's very hard to make that show into a gateway. I think, you could. I mean, you basically would have to. Well, I don't know if that's true.
No, Deep Space Nine is a response to being a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, I think you have to be a Star Trek fan to get Deep Space Nine. Like, I don't
keep
think
your interest in it.
I don't think that's a show that's going to suck you into Star Trek.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, you really have to understand Star Trek because it's such in the best of all possible ways, it's such a complicated universe that its tapestry, that it weaves.
Is that the new title for this episode? Sucked into Star Trek?
Sucked into Star Trek. That said, I think in the land of you show people a pilot, I think that Emissary tells you tells you everything that you need to know about the world that show inhabits.
Yeah, that show, but not Star Trek.
Right. But the thing is this, if you get into Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, because you watch the pilot and you're like, wow, that's fucking great. And you keep watching it, I am 100% certain you're going to go back and watch more Star Trek. There's zero doubt in my mind that you.
I don't know about
I
that.
could see somebody being a fan of Deep Space Nine and not being a fan of other Star Treks.
Yeah,
I
like
can see
Ashley.
people-
Yeah.
Like,
you would like me to list the things I'm not a fan of? It's like,
and then, for Voyager, I think it's kind of the same thing. I think, maybe
it's a standalone.
It's not really something that's going to. I mean, although there clearly are people that started watching Star Trek with Voyager and fell in love with Star Trek, but I just don't see that as the gateway.
I think I'm going to get hate mail from this. I think the only way to enjoy Voyager is not being a Star Trek fan and watching it first.
Yeah, that's maybe true.
Well, I mean, Caretaker, maybe. I don't know. Not really.
I mean, okay, thinking about this DS9 thing, maybe you're right. I think if I started life as a DS9 fan and I went back to TNG, there would probably be Next Generation episodes that I liked, but I wouldn't watch it. Yeah, but not as a whole. I would think, what's wrong with it?
It would feel complex. It would feel.
I might actually, but yes.
It would feel much more pedestrian, I think. I think you would be missing something, and I don't think you necessarily would stick it out through, those 5th, 6th, 7th season episodes that are also.
That's right. I'm not sitting around going, well, you know what? Maybe it's Sub Rosa, but I'm still watching because it's no.
Invisible it's like I just don't. I don't know.
She's banging in Irish.
And then look, you could say so. Enterprise was the quote unquote prequel to the original.
Right.
But is there anything from Enterprise?
No.
It's going to get you into Star Trek. Well, with all
I don't think
apologies
there's
to Daniel
anything.
Noah,
I don't think there's anything that you can watch that can get you into Enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the 4th season had some good shows. The pilot's good. The Broken Bow was a good pilot, but I don't think that's the way to. Andorian Incident's good initially, but I don't necessarily see these as episodes that
you only watch it if you're already a Star Trek fan.
Because I got a tough time. Like I watch anything once. Like I'll watch a lot of pilots, but it takes a lot to keep me watching. And I admit that there's shows that maybe I should have stuck with. My wife always gives me shit for this. Like I watched the Game of Thrones pilot, and I didn't like it, and I didn't watch it again until it became this cultural phenomenon. And then I rewatched it and stuck with it. So you really need something that's going to draw you in and make you want to come back and watch more. I mean, I just know I was so lucky with, when Isaac decided to give Star Trek a chance, it was the original, and it just he just loved it, and he just couldn't stop watching.
We are saying,
which is also why he's still stuck in the mud of Enterprise season 1 and has taken a very long hiatus.
Oh my God. It's so basically what we've learned is that Enterprise is how you get people. It's the gateway to stopping watching Star Trek.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
It's the rehab. It's the 28 days
he
later.
Was watching 6 to 10 episodes a day some day. I mean, he was, this summer, he was he'd all day be watching Star Trek.
That's just bad parenting, Mark.
And but it gets to Enterprise, and it's he watches a couple. I mean, he got after he survived Voyager, and it was and it's just like he just stopped. He just stopped.
It's like, Dad, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm like, well, you know, are you going to watch it before STLV 2025? And he said, yeah, but not right
Maybe.
now. And I said, you know, you could skip to Picard season 3. He said, no, I got to keep going.
No, he has to watch all of them in order, like we did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
There's no shortcuts.
No, there isn't. And then, of course, you know, in terms of any of the new shows, are those anything there to start with? I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm happy to be ill-informed about it.
Yeah. I mean, Ashley, does it make sense to start with Lower Decks?
You know, I think that Lower Decks would suffer from the same problem as DS9, as we've identified it. I think that you could start watching Lower Decks and really dig it. One of the issues is that it is built on knowing something about Star Trek, although you don't necessarily have to. But by the same token, it's such a tonal, like, left turn from what Star Trek is, from what the rest of Star Trek is, in the same way that DS9 is kind of a left turn from what the rest of Star Trek is. That I think you'd watch Lower Decks and go, why isn't the rest of it like this?
I know the show gets specifically referential to Star Trek in points, but does it also sort of take the pop culture assumptions of Star Trek and integrate that into the episodes?
It filtered through, like, it's really interesting because I wouldn't say that it steps back and looks at the material as though it's us and that it's winking at it or that it's judging it. It's more like the characters who are on the show are fans of their own history.
Mm-hmm.
And they understand it, and so they talk about it.
They're fans of the show.
They're fans of the show, basically.
Right.
That's treated as it's the real thing that has happened or that is happening. Right down to how sometimes, you know, they send up the structure of certain episodes or genres of certain episodes and do very interesting things with them. But so I think you would watch Lower Decks and you would feel like you would know what those other shows are and what the rest of the Star Trek universe looked like. But I think if you went back and you watched the episodes, I think there would be some cognitive dissonance there. So I don't know.
I think a better place to start might be Prodigy, you know, which was designed to sort of be an entry point for people. And, you know, that, you know, maybe that's something where, you know, a younger audience could discover that and then that would intrigue them about Star Trek. But of course, you need to sort of have a working knowledge of Voyager in order to really get Prodigy. And, you know, look, we're not the people who are going to make a case for Strange New Worlds, but, you know, Strange New Worlds is also like, I mean, I don't see that show getting people into Star Trek who've never been to Star Trek.
What about Section 31?
That was what it was designed for, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it was.
It made me a big fan of Section 30.
Maybe a big fan of C-section. What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Ashley's like, Section 69? I'm there. But,
yeah,
like,
baby.
No,
oh dear.
That's not happening.
This episode has gone off the rails completely.
Yeah. So, but interesting. It's interesting. So if you had to narrow it down to one episode, Ashley, what would it be? Or one movie, what would it be? And it could be something we mentioned, but what's your pick? If somebody's listening and this is where they're going to get the definitive answer, what should I use to introduce myself to Star Trek? What's it going to be?
I'm divided.
You know what it is. Just say it. You know what it is.
I know that Star Trek 4 works, but I would say the Doomsday Machine.
Okay, Doomsday Machine. What about you, Darren?
I would say Star Trek 2. As much as I resist the idea of squeezing all of Trek fandom into that one movie, I think it has the best chance of getting people to, one, like it, and two, get them interested in seeing more of Star Trek.
Well, I'm not going to pick Shades of Grey, so I am going to go with The Court Might Maneuver, your pick, Darren, which I think is sort of the definitive episode of Star Trek. Not the best, but the definitive
Not the
episode.
best, but it has all the elements.
It has everything. So anyway, but this was interesting. I'm curious if anyone, I doubt anyone's listening to a show called Inglorious Treksperts who's never seen Star Trek. But if, maybe you just started dating someone, maybe you just met somebody who's never seen Star Trek.
And you're listening to this podcast.
Use this, and try and see, and let us know. We'd be really interested to know if any of these suggestions make sense, they work, or if you have your own suggestions, please share them with us on social media. We'd love to know what.
This episode's a good date episode.
It's a good date episode. Yeah, you should listen, before you guys, when you're on a date, going to the restaurant, rather than talk to each other, if you're a little nervous, you don't know what to say. But this is my favorite podcast. This is my favorite podcast. I'm going to turn it on. It's called Inglorious Treksperts. I really like these guys.
I think that goes on. I think that kind of stuff does go on. Not necessarily with our podcast.
No. And they can say, I like these guys. What do they look like in real life? Well, they're on YouTube now. You're not going to be impressed. Okay. What? So,
yourself.
Inglorious Treksperts. Inglorious Treksperts. I'm going to just keep coughing. Inglorious Treksperts is a production of the Treksperts Podcast Network. Mark Altman, Darren DOCHTERMAN, Ashley Miller, executive producers, Peter Holmes from Prime Mix, our producers, Mark Rivera is our audio sound mixer, and John Carney is our social media manager. Treksperts is copyright 2025 by Treksperts Plus and is available wherever you listen to podcasts or on video now via Spotify and YouTube. You can review Inglorious Treksperts wherever you listen and share your thoughts with us on your favorite social media platform or via email at trekspertsplus@gmail.com or on the Inglorious Treksperts Discord channel. If you want to meet us live, we'll be in Vegas on August 7th through the 10th. We'd like to see you on the Trekspert stage at the Deep Forest Kelly Theater. So check it out. And the Inglorious Treksperts live tour continues throughout the summer. So you want to follow us at galaxycon.com. Galaxycon.com will be coming to a city near you and bringing our Trekspertise to your town. So check us out. And that's about it for us this week. The good news is, or maybe it's bad news, I don't know.
They're not going to prosecute?
We'll be back next Thursday. But they're not going to prosecute. We'll be back next Thursday with an all-new episode of Inglorious Treksperts. We don't stop. We're relentless. We're like the Doomsday Machine. So, on behalf of Ashley...
Don't you think I know that? Sorry.
On behalf... This is the ending. This is where we wrap it up and we get ready to leave. My only friend, the end.
The end.
Oh my God, have you ever listened to Jim Morrison's American Prayer? My daughter's really into that album, so she's been playing. It's all his poetry. And there's one called The Hitchhiker. And
it's with Rutger Hauer, right?
His poetry, with Riders on the Storm. And Morrison is saying, I went out to the desert. I killed somebody. It's something at a certain age, it's perfect. But anyway, on behalf of Ashley Edward Miller, Darren DOCHTERMAN, myself, Mark A. Altman, keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course, and don't kill anyone in the desert. Shh.